Beautiful people. I believe we are live. We are live everywhere, almost everywhere, or everywhere. I think we're only missing TikTok. So, welcome everyone. Oh my goodness. Welcome everyone to your weekly pulse check. I am your host, Dr. Dale Laing-Hall. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. You are in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing. And you guys know that we gather here every single week to what do we gather here for? We gather here to talk about you, to talk about us, to talk about how we can overcome life and be better human beings. That's what we're here for. I have been over 15 years experience in human resources, professional development, personal development, and of course my special sauce, emotional intelligence. And today we have our very special guest for you guys. So Maria, where did we meet? Maria, we met on Clubhouse. You can on mic. Maria, I'm just gonna give you the mic. Tell the folks who you are, what we are, I think we met in Clubhouse in Breakfast of
Yeah,
Champions, if I'm not right. I think that's how we met, right?
yeah. We met on Clubhouse,
Clubhouse,
and
and Maria decided she was gonna drop some gems on me, definitely help me out in a time of my life that I needed, and she welcomed me into her community.
sprinkle,
So, Maria,
sprinkle.
the floor is yours. Let people know who you are, what you do, and let's go from there.
What do we do? Currently, we are running a cleaning business out of Dallas. Let's see. We met Dale at Breakfast with Champions. We connected because it was Dr. Dale, and we just kind of started hitting it off. I invited her to be part of my women's community. I think we've been friends since I moved to Dallas. So she's seen the journey unravel right before her eyes. Um, I've overcome a lot since I moved here. It's been one heck of a journey. I this like this quote came to mind this weekend because I think you did you see the post about the wallpaper, the expensive wallpaper. So I wanted this really expensive wallpaper, and as you can tell, my whole aesthetic is like black and white. And I was like, I love this wallpaper, but it was like 300 and something dollars. And I was gonna need like 2 rolls, and I was like, oh, this is so painful. And then I said, I think I can like paint it or like sketch it. But I was like, how would I do that? So I moved on to the next one. And then I was like, wait, I think my daughter can help me on this, right? So she says yes, I'm gonna help you, whatever. She does the wallpaper, she does this design, and I'm like, it looks kind of weird. So then, she starts painting it, and I'm like, I'm seeing that she's struggling, and I'm like, maybe I can give it a shot because I took 3 years of art class, not because I wanted, but because I was forced into it. And so, I start painting it, and then once I see it all just come together, I'm just sitting there like, it might not look great because when you're so close up to painting, you see all the flaws and all the missed edges and all this stuff. So I was like, it might not look the best, but it might look decent. So when I step away from the painting, I'm like, whoa, we did that. I'm like, it always seems impossible until it gets done. And I just thought doing that wallpaper, that design was impossible. I was like, how could I ever do that? But I think that it resonated a lot because that's pretty much how life works. When you feel like it's a huge task, how am I going to start that cleaning business? How am I going to start that coaching program? How am I ever going to get to that level, right? And then you start doing little pieces at a time, and you're so close up to it that you're like, oh, that line is not as straight. Maybe I should not squiggle that much, or you start focusing on all the little tiny details. But when you step away from the big picture, you really have made an impact. And so that's one thing. That's how I see my last few months here in Dallas, that I'm like, I never thought I was able to accomplish such things in cleaning, especially not in the cleaning industry. It's a really tough industry. And I don't mean tough as in like it's tough cleaning, because it is tough cleaning, but I think finding the clients, keeping the clients, and maintaining that standard, and just pushing yourself every day to deliver, deliver, deliver. I think it's tough in that sense. And so I just thought it was impossible until I got it done. And so that's my biggest, I guess, recent lesson. You should never underestimate yourself or teenagers.
So,
It's tough in
Maria,
that sense. And so I just thought it was impossible
why
until I got it
why
done.
this
And so
conversation,
that's
right? How
my
does
biggest,
this
I guess, recent
relate
lesson.
to your
You should
story?
never
What
underestimate
has
yourself or
resilience? Because that's what
teenagers.
the conversation is today, right? We're talking about resilience and
So,
boosting
Maria,
stress
and so
resilience
I just
in
thought it was
order to succeed
why
and
this
grow,
conversation,
not only in
right?
our
How
personal
does
life, but our
this,
professional
I
life,
guess,
right?
relate
And how
to
does this
your
relate to
story?
your
What
story?
has
Give us a little bit
resilience?
of
Because that's what the
bridging that
conversation is
gap
today,
for
right?
us
We're
a little
talking
bit.
about resilience. Bridging the gap as far as how this story ties it all together. I think I've gone clinically insane. It ties it all in because I don't know. I've just never pictured myself starting a business. Like I have, but I just never knew what it was going to take, because there's no amount of books that you're going to read that's going to prepare you for what's coming. You can't go to business school and say, "Oh, I know exactly what to expect." Like it doesn't matter if I went to college or not. It doesn't matter if you like people are going to be people. And the more people that you deal with, I think that is like the biggest skill that you can like learn if you're going to go in any kind of business, because you have to deal with people. If you don't want to deal with people, go get a cubicle desk job. Like that's going to be the safest area where you're not going to have to deal with people. But I'm going to tell you like how this all ties in together is when I wanted to start a business, I wasn't prepared. I still want to like grow the business, but I'm not prepared. And I think that the best way to get prepared is to always be a student. And so people can teach me all about sales, marketing, all this stuff. But since the world is moving so fast, it's evolving. It's hard to take on those practices that someone taught me from when they started their business back in 2015 to now. Because post pandemic, business is done very differently. And so a lot of the things that I see that it looks impossible. It's like, how am I ever going to catch up with all these trends? How am I ever going to stay on top of that business, that business standard? How can I ever meet those standards if it's always changing? And so I think if you just stay in your lane and you block out all the noise, you should be good. Because I've seen that when you start listening to all the Instagram and all the gurus and all the business moguls out there, it's just like it's kind of hard to find someone that is genuine and it's not just trying to sell you something. It's like I think you have to check their track record most than anything, because it's like,
A hundred
hmm,
percent. So you would say I would agree. There's a lot going on in the world. There's things going on all over all the time, right? And you may say to yourself or to a degree, right? Man, at what point I I can't catch up, right? You can't catch up. You do,
hmm,
right? And then you're looking at personally are going through things every single day, right? But you also do quite a lot. And I think because of the things that you do, it helps you to be able to deal with all of the stuff that's going on, you personally at least, right? So I know that you're an avid, workout. That's that's one of the main things that, that kind of helps you. So how did you get into that? Why working out? How does workout relate to you to be able to do what you do on a daily basis, right? Being a business owner, right? Content creator, and working out here, there, and everywhere, and then a mother, right? So share a
hmm.
little bit about that.
So I chose a topic of stress, of dealing with lots of stress so that you can succeed in business. Because, like I said, when it all looks like it's impossible and you want to go through that, it's like when Moses took his people through that river. When God opened up the river so they could go through that, like there was it the sea. He parted the sea, And so when you're going into business, it's pretty much like you walking in with your people, with your kids, with your family, with your employees, your expenses. You're going through this sea, and God is parting like He's parting it for you so you can walk. But it's nonetheless, even though you're with God and you know you're safe, it is freaking scary. Like it is. It's still. It doesn't take away the fact that it is heart wrenching. You find yourself awake at night trying to figure out how am I gonna get more clients. Your mind is always racing as it is because you're already an entrepreneur. So when you have to deal with the stress of having business and having to find your clients and your leads, especially when you're starting a business, I'm not saying you're working for a company, because working for a company is amazing, right? You don't have to go find the leads, you don't have to find the bread, you don't have to do nothing. You just have to show up and do your best and get paid. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to provide for these families. If you say we don't have work tomorrow, they're going to leave you because they're going to say you don't have work. They're going to sit here. So, and I've been through almost all of these phases that I'm going to talk about. So, the phases that I've been through is where I have so much work and I don't have enough workers. So, I'm the one that's working, right? And so then it's like, okay, you have so much work, now you don't have workers. But okay, now you have workers, a lot of work, but they're shitty workers, right? So, that's your leadership. So that's when you have to work on your leadership. And so, okay, let's cut the bad apples and maybe have to start fresh. And so, all these things are very stressful. Increasing your stress resilience so you can succeed is going to be crucial. And working out really helps you release that stress. For the last 3 months, I've been trying to get back into the gym. I haven't actually worked out in like almost 6 months, and the reason being is that I went through some really mental spiritual battles, right? And I got to the point where I gave up. I was like, I can't. I feel sick. I can't go, and I would still show up mentally and spiritually. Even though I wasn't working out, I would still work on my spirituality, got closer to God, and I realized that the devil was attacking my body. And so I just felt really depleted. And I realized that when the time I didn't work out, I just felt like stress was just eating me up. Like my body, like I said, it felt sick, but it felt sicker. And then I was feeling weaker. And then for the little moments that I did try to work out, it just like automatically I was in creation mode. I was positive. I didn't feel lethargic. But I'll tell you that those stress levels will rise and you have to push through them, right? I know that physically some people are, they don't have the capability to go run 3 miles, but get to a point where you make the minimal effort at least to get out of bed and to go and do something for your body, whether it be stretching, having a great meal, not overindulging in any sweets or anything like that. I think it's crucial because, like you said, you're a high performer, you're not exercising, you're dealing with all this stress, your body actually does get sick. It really does get sick. And stress is a huge catalyst for a lot of the diseases that we have nowadays.
I agree 100%. I I was telling you earlier that me myself I work out 2 or 3 times a week, but nothing too crazy. And I was telling you that I was gonna start lifting weights now, and you're telling me it's really good for my body. So thank you for that, because now I'm gonna like go a lot more
Good.
into it. But I know that for me, you got to know what works for you, right? And not everything that everybody does work for them. But I know just taking a walk, just start
Yes.
slow, right? Taking a walk out to nature. Just I love watching like waterfalls and lakes, and just watching the birds and listening to the trees. Like that stuff fuels me. And when I'm done doing stuff like that, I walk away. I was like, oh my God, so I'm ready to do this and I'm going to do that. And that, I noticed that about myself, but I just figured that out recently, right?
Mhm.
Because I had to try different things. What do you think about that?
I think that well, I still am certified. I have
Yeah,
my
yeah, you're good.
certification for women's fitness and nutrition. And you can hear me? You hear me?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
I
Yeah,
still have my certification for fitness and nutrition. And so being emotionally aware, I think it's really important. And it's important in the sense that like you said, whatever works for me, whatever used to work for me, which is even more important, whatever used to work for me back when I was like, fitness training and doing all this, it does not work for me now. Like the weight that I used to lift back then does not apply to me now that I'm a business owner. Like I'm a business owner right now, but I could tell you, I could walk 20,000 steps, no problem. I can walk. You can walk, walk, walk. Because, cleaning, you got to walk from one end to the house to the other,
Yeah, yeah,
upstairs,
yeah.
downstairs, outside, inside, backyard. I can walk. But when it comes to lifting weights, I'm just like, Lord, why? And so you're right. Whatever used to work for you back when you were 20 years old, 15 years old, it's not going to work for you now. So you really do have to listen to your body. And I have this theory that, like we say, what used to work for you back then, what it works now, same applies for the food. The same food that you used to eat when you were 20, maybe you can't eat it now that you're 30. Maybe it's the milk, maybe it's the cheese, maybe it's whatever it is, you know. And listening to your body, like you said, Dale, is just it's just that cherry on top that a lot of people they're not aware how to listen, and so they don't listen, and they're doing
How
the
do
same
they,
routine that they used to do back then.
Maria, how do they listen? Some people don't even know what that means. Listen to your body. What do you mean listen to your body? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how do we listen?
We're aware. So education of knowing how to listen is very important. So for example, if you know that your stomach hurts every time that you eat cheese, don't do it. If you break out, women, especially women, because I studied women, I don't know about men, but I know women, when we have our hormones and we're eating hormones, they show up here in our chin, all of this area. And so this area right here, you can tell, like, okay, that's hormonal. Okay, I understand. So maybe this is food. Okay. And then this, okay, this is bad eating habits. Okay. So if I'm breaking out down here, what am I eating that is triggering that for my body to do? Maybe you
Oh,
break out in
wow.
hives. Maybe are
What?
you breaking out in hives? Well, are you allergic to something that you didn't know you were allergic? Maybe you develop an allergy now that your hormones change because you have a child. Those tiny little things that you're like, this didn't used to happen. What's going on? And so
Yeah.
finding the root cause of the problem instead of just going to, I don't know, a doctor and saying, give me some, I don't know, some
Pills or
allergy.
something to fix this. Yeah.
Yeah, why not find, and we know that whatever we eat is what affects us the most. So listening to your body, how it feels. Maybe you worked out 3 4 times a week with weights and it was really straining on your joints. Instead of going back and lifting those weights, why not go and talk to a professional, like a physical therapist or someone that knows in that industry? Why are your joints hurting? Maybe you have something wrong with your joints. Maybe you're deficient in calcium. Finding that root cause instead of just saying, oh, exercise is just not for me, hurts too much. Why
Yeah,
not
yeah,
find
yeah.
the root cause? So listening to your body initially, how you feel, what feels best. And I know that a lot of these, there's speakers on health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not okay to feel sick all the time. Something is wrong because it's not okay to feel really sick. And there's when I was a fitness coach, I used to love debunking all these myths. And one of the biggest myths that I debunked that I'm so proud of was the fact that our metabolism does not dip after 40 or
What do
after
you
having
mean?
kids.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, people say, your metabolism dipped or your metabolism slowed down after 40 because you had
Yeah.
kids. Well,
Yeah.
what if I don't have kids and it's still slowing down? What is going on? What never slows down? Actually, there's been a study with science.org where they studied children from the ages of 0 days all the way to the age of like 99.
Yeah.
And the metabolism was like, it fluctuated a little bit when they're in the first years of age. But after they hit, I think like 18, it just stayed pretty steady. It went like a little up and down, but nothing crazy where it was like, slow down. So after like 65, that's when it started declining slowly. So that's why you get
What?
dementia, Alzheimer's, all these illnesses at 65 and older, because that's when your body and metabolism starts slowing down. But if you really take a look at it, what controls your metabolism? What controls your hormones? Well, your adrenal system. And what do we do with our adrenal system every single day? We drink a shitload of coffee and we shoot it right out.
Maria, you ain't had to say it like that.
I'm sorry.
You gonna talk about coffee? That's you gonna get us
I'm on a
banned.
coffee. I'm on a coffee detox for the past 3 months, and let me tell you, the real me is like here, and I'm like, I'm not even that hype. I thought I was hype. It was all the caffeine I was just jacking myself up with.
But I drink coffee. It doesn't do anything for me. Like cause I'm naturally, but like always loud, and that's my status quo. But I just drink it because it tastes good, and it reminds me of my grandmother,
Yeah.
because she used to drink a lot of coffee. But I just started, like, I think 2 weeks ago, drinking coffee 3 times a week.
Mhm.
And I noticed that I keep increasing it. So I was like, am I getting too addicted to this? Like,
That's how I started. I was like, just 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups. Next thing you know, every single day I was drinking caffeine. And I was like, huh. And it dehydrates you. It also dehydrates you. Like coffee dehydrates you. So
oh,
you have all these adults drinking a whole bunch of coffee, shooting their adrenal system, dealing with a bunch of stress, not releasing that stress, and that those adrenal glands are just getting like clogged, okay? And they're slowing
yeah.
down your metabolism. Once your metabolism starts slowing down, so does your thyroid, and that's when everything just goes straight downhill. And then you get to 40. Mind you, one of the biggest things I would hear is like, Maria, I've gained all this weight in the past 5 years. I don't know what I did wrong. And I'm like, okay, let's take 3 steps back and let's just uncover this. And we just got to the bottom that they were just so stressed in the age of 25 because they got married, they got kids, they didn't sleep, they didn't eat right, they had all this stress, they drank
Yeah.
all this coffee. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, their body's so stressed to the point where it's failing. And now they're like, maybe I messed up. And I'm like, it ain't gonna be an easy fix. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to take a lot of steps back and take it all back. And that's where it's a huge process trying to get your body back to where it should be. So
Wow. Today I'm drinking tea. I'm drinking
it still has
ginger
caffeine.
tea. Ginger tea.
Take a look at the caffeine because a lot of the teas that we have nowadays do have caffeine. Drinks it
All right,
again.
Maria. I'm going with the water. See, I'm going with the water.
Cheers. Going with the water.
Wow. Okay. So, Maria, I am an entrepreneur as well. So let's kind of switch a little bit. We talked a little bit about health, physical health. We're gonna get into the emotional health, but as an entrepreneur, I think that when I became officially an entrepreneur last year, when I started my business in January, I
Congrats.
had, thank you, thank you. I went through, and I am still going through this season of, I think as an entrepreneur, I learn, and I'm knowing who I am so much more than I was when I was doing like a 9 to 5, working in corporate America. And a lot of the responsibilities, right? Even though I was a manager, leader, director, executive, whatever, I'm learning that my resilience, me, depending on me, and getting up every day and getting my mind in the right place, getting my body in the right place, like all of this stuff, I'm figuring out a lot more now that, man, this stuff is not for the weak of heart. What do you think?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
When did you realize it was not for the faint of heart? Was it like, did you hit a road that you were like, what do I do here?
I figured it out when I was 7, 8 months in, and I was like, this is really all on me. I was going through something, and I did a coaching session, and after I'm like, man, I really gotta develop all of these coaching stuff on my own for these people. This is luckily I loved it and I
Overwhelming.
enjoyed it. But that was an experience for me, and I'm still going through and learning, like, man, I really gotta get myself up and go and make, you want to make an impact, Dale? You said you wanted to make an impact. Let's go. What do you think?
Welcome to entrepreneurship. This is where I tell you to put your seatbelt on and make sure that it clicks 3 times.
Three times?
Yeah, you
Not,
know, on
not,
the roller coaster, they tell you make sure it clicks 3 times.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure, because you're gonna fly out. And I think that
So, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say when you hear the three clicks, it's it's like, okay, your faith, your family, and you got your resilience. Like, okay, I'm ready. Because if you don't got your
Yeah.
faith, if you don't got your family behind you, and you don't have your resilience ready to go, you're gonna fly out that first swing. You're gonna go. "Whew."
Of when problems hit, right? And
Yeah.
then and challenges come about, right? So I figured out that, as an emotional intelligence coach, I have to get myself right before I even approach or go into these conversations with these clients. And it's not something that, oh, okay, I got it done today. Now I gotta worry about it again. I gotta do it every second of the day, constantly getting my emotional, my mental, my physical, like it's a daily, second by second, situation by situation ordeal.
Mm-hmm. It's like you eat, breathe, shit, emotional intelligence. It is like that. It hit me when I was like an entrepreneur. I was like, when I was starting my fitness, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like this is cool. I'm a fitness coach. But then I realized I have to eat, breathe, and this fitness. Like I have to be it. I have to work out. I have to prep my meals. I have to create content around it. I have to not drink. I have to do this. I have to preach. I had to be it all day, every day. Because if you're just a Monday through Friday coach, weekend warrior at the bar, people are not gonna take you serious.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be it, but I realized that before I even get there, I gotta want to make sure that I am supporting myself, getting to know myself, so that way I can show up as my best version for everybody else, right? With everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, I realized that people see you when they like, oh, you're an entrepreneur, and they're like, oh, okay. So you don't really do anything. Like,
Yeah.
what was your experience with that? Did that happen with you? Because I got some looks.
When you were like when you were starting your coaching, is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah. Like early last year, they're like, you were doing what? Because I was doing it while I was doing my chief HR officer position, right? I was doing it at night or in the evenings and whatnot. So I kind of started that, and I did it for like 6, 7 months, and I was like, I like this. I want to do more of this. And then I told the husband, and husband is like, well,
Let's
if you want to
go.
do it, let's go. This is because he has experience with all this stuff. He's like a business guru. That's it, because he's in IT. So he's like constant business stuff. And he was telling me
Yeah.
this, 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 and this. And I was like, are you trying to scare me or encourage
Prepare
me?
me.
So I wasn't sure, right?
Yeah.
So I say that to say, if I started it every single day, I have to say I am unstoppable. This is what I want. And this is what I want, right? But I got to make sure that I put in the work for it, because it's not going to happen from one day to the other, right? It's
Hmm.
just not. So yeah.
I think that when a lot of people, you've heard this before, they say I have imposter syndrome. It's probably because they're not putting in the work. And
Mm.
imposter syndrome happens a lot when you don't feel worth it of it because you're not doing all you know you can do for it. So I feel like a lot of times when we say, oh, I had imposter syndrome, it's like lack of confidence in oneself. And why does that lack of confidence come upon? Right?
Because I
Okay.
feel like I don't have enough experience in it, or I didn't
But
do
if you
enough
were but if you were to study all you can and you were in all these workshops and you know you're doing what you can, why wouldn't you be confident?
because I've never done it before.
But you're studying to do it, right?
Yeah, but that's theory, right? So studying to
Hmm.
do it and actually putting it into practice is two different things.
True.
It's two different things.
Maybe
So
it's
that,
about perspective.
right. Now we're talking. Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of people that have been doing emotional intelligence coaching might not be doing the continued education, or they might not have a lot of clients, or they might have been studying the same exact emotional intelligence course from 1988, and you're up to date with 2024. So they could have been
Yeah.
doing it for a long time, but you've been putting in the work, and you've been reading the books, and you've been doing what you have to do. So your imposter syndrome gets, it's still there at some regard, because you
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
learning, right? Because if you say I
Right.
don't know it all, then you're no longer a student, you're stagnant. But
Right.
if you have a little bit of that imposter syndrome and say, okay, I might not know everything, but I'm on my way, it makes you more
Right.
confident than the person says I know it all. In the
Right.
end, they have the imposter syndrome, and you'll be so surprised how many people say that they are um, entrepreneurs, and then they're coaches, and they've made money, and it might be like they did it one time, and they're like, I made $6.5 billion one time, but they don't tell you I couldn't sustain it because I fumbled the bag. You know?
Yeah, I was talking to another friend of mine and we were talking about exactly that, that pretending to be something
Yeah.
that you're not, right? Or stretching the truth or
Mhm.
just posting happy stories or happy inspirational stuff that have a happy ending, right? But I was telling about, but at least it inspired people and encouraged people. She said, "Yes, but you are not being real." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah. So if people were to say, you know what, Dale, I know you just started because you shared the story of how you started your business a year ago, but I see that you're putting in the reps. I want to go with you because I know that you just started, but you're putting in all your eggs in the one basket, and you're talking about the harsh reality of what it takes to get there. That people don't talk about. They're like, oh, I made $1 million in 1 year, and I sold 45 courses, and it's like, well, what if I told you that I tried to sell five and they all rejected me? And like, oh man, I've been there. So it creates more relatability, is what I'm trying to say. The vulnerability creates relatability.
Ooh, I like that. I'll write that one down. That was a bomb right there. Relatability. Maria, where you got that
The
from?
vulnerability creates relatability.
Vulnerability. Yes. Yes, I agree 100% because at the end of the day, then you are putting something out there that, if your clients, right, if you're selling, yeah, I can get you results in a matter of 15 days or 30 days or whatever. When they actually come in and you give them this list of all this stuff, there when you do their plan, right, and you give them a list of all this stuff that they said they have to do, then they get overwhelmed. They're like, how am I going to do all that in 30 days?
Yeah.
That may be your program, but can that individual customizable programs, right? Can that individual do it in 30 days?
Can you also imagine this as a coach, right? Because I'm a business owner. You're a
Yeah.
coach. Let's say you're trying to coach me as a business owner. I might not be doing the same thing as you, physically, emotionally, stressfully. And I tell you, because the last time I hired a coach, I was very disappointed. Um, you know, I work
Um,
basically with my hands. I have mop buckets and laundry sheets and places I gotta be, and I gotta be doing a lot of this or a lot of this. I don't have time to do an assignment that requires me to log in every single thing I did yesterday. Like that to me just doesn't work. And so a lot of times as coaches, I feel like I wasn't an understanding coach. And I was trying to understand it, but I have never worked in the auto industry, so I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
know what
yeah.
it's like to be on your feet all day and then still have to come work out with me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
from listening to my clients, I would get a little bit of insight of what it felt like to be on my feet every day. So I was like, you know what, maybe today we'll just work on your flexibility, because it sounds like you're stressed. It sounds like your body hurts. It sounds like you've been up walking around. It sounds like you were really early this morning and you're just drained. How about we do some yoga instead? Because I wouldn't know, because I'm not a car salesperson, but I imagine you're in the sun all day. You're hot, you're sweaty, and then you still have to go work out at 7 p.m. It's exhausting. And I think that sometimes, understanding the other person's point of view, like, yes, you're vulnerable, this is who I am, but also understanding like, hey, I work in the cleaning industry. If I'm going to have a coach, I need them to understand that I can't journal for 3 hours after I get home. I have to get home and I have to do Airbnb sheets. I have to take care of my kids. I have to probably get my workout in or get some sleep or read. I have a team I have to be ready for. I don't really think I have time to sit there and journal. And so I think that having customizable programs, real customizable programs, not cookie cutters, will get will separate the real coaches from the ones that are just doing that to get money off of people, right? So I think
100%.
it's relating to as much as you can to your client.
100%, because then if you do that, then okay, you may not be able to journal, but you may be able to listen to a 5-minute meditation and tell me how you felt after that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, be able to find other tips, other strategies. And that's why I say people are looking at other people and probably copying, and then the stress, and then they put all of this list of things on their clients and on themselves, and they do all of these things that it doesn't really relate to
Hmm.
what that person is going through on a daily basis, right? Their
Hmm.
relationships, their family, their work relationship, like all of it, right? Because all of it's important and all of it is connected.
Yeah, yeah. And, I like that you're taking that approach of asking them, what is something that we can incorporate into your daily schedule? It's Atomic Habits. Have you read James
Yeah.
Clear? So stacking habits. Like if you are already sitting down at the dinner table and you know that family is important and your emotional intelligence with your family is important, instead of me sending you a worksheet for yourself, how about I ask you some questions I would like for you to ask your family so you can discuss and then you catch me up on what they said?
a
Because
hundred percent
emotional intelligence is a thing that should be taught in every single household, along with financial independence.
I agree. That is my aim, and that's what happened why I decided to go into, kind of go and do my research on emotional intelligence, EQ, because if I had EQ growing up, my life would have been completely different. You know, and
You,
you
you
had
know what?
EQ, your parents, your like all of
I
it.
used to I used to say that too, but I can't because I love my kids so much. Like I probably wouldn't be pregnant by 16. But
Or
if I
you could have, or you maybe you still would have,
You know
right?
what? I think I was emotionally intelligent at that point in my life because I was like, I want to have kids. Who in their right mind says at 16 I want to have kids?
I don't know
Twins.
very many people. I don't.
Twins. I don't know. I think it was the spirit of Christ because I don't know what got into me. I even look back and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? How did I even do this? But now they're like grown and they know emotional intelligence. And
Yes.
I'm just like, I would do
Because
it all over again.
you give it to them, because even though you didn't have it, you know better, you do better,
Yeah.
right, you transfer that knowledge, that experience, what those that effect that is going to make a big difference on their all of their relationships. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are. If you're a human being and your blood is red, you need emotional intelligence. We
Yeah.
all need it, right?
Have you seen that
Because
one Instagram reel where there's like, she says, my mother was abused, and so I passed, and it's like she passed it down to me, and now I have to pour it out of me, so my daughter doesn't have to inherit that. And so I think that is like the perfect analogy.
yes.
Perfect analogy.
Yes, 100%. So Maria, let's go a little bit deeper and give the folks some, like, what are some effective daily practices that individuals can incorporate, right, in their routines, to kind of help them with stress resilience, from all the different levels in their life, right? So give them like 3 or 5, tips that they can kind of do now and put into practice.
The first one I'm going to tell you is that if you have to stay up late, just bite the bullet and do it. If you have to wake up earlier than you should just to get stuff done for your business, for your organization, because you're going to quit your organization or you're thinking about quitting. Maybe you're a salesperson and you're like, I want to go branch out on my own. I want to start my own company. That's amazing. But when you're in sales, you're making a whole lot of bread. And I'm just going to tell you right now, when you're on your own, you're going to be fending for yourself. So getting fed by the bird is not the same thing as going out and hunting other birds to go get fed yourself. So
Mm.
I think that if you have to do the late work, the early mornings, do it. And do it tired. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I got to work out, and do it. So you can brag about it when you get there and say, you know what? I stayed up late. I woke up earlier and I still worked out and I took care of my kids and my family and my wife. You cannot take this from me. And a lot of times people run from that. They're like, oh, just 5 more minutes. It's just another morning. I didn't have nothing to do. It doesn't matter. It's you're creating that character for yourself. I have a story that when I was working for IHOP,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working like I would wake up like at 4 just to be. I work by 6 because I had to drop off my kids, and then I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to work, be there until 3, get out, go to school, get out of school, go work out, and then go pick up my kids, and then go home
Yeah.
and watch and all this stuff. And I would just do that on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And then I got 2 jobs, and so I say this because I put in the work, and I would always tell myself, I'm working hard because I know that one day when I'm a business owner, I'm not gonna sleep. And said so because now I'm a business owner. I don't sleep. My phone rings at 5 in the morning. Hey, we don't have this and this and this. Can you go to Home Depot? I'm like, of course, it's 5 in the morning. Why shouldn't I just go to Home Depot right now? And so having that resiliency to say, you know what, this is just a phase, this is just a step that I have to go through in order to build that character. That's step one. Step two, reach out to God, because God's going to be the only one that can guide you through this treacherous, dark path. Let me tell you, it's like going into the woods. Have you ever been to the woods? I don't know if anybody's been to the
Yeah.
woods. If you have
Yeah.
been to the woods late at night, you are a city person and you've never been to the woods, you are going to be scared out of your pants.
In Honduras, there are all kinds of woods
Just,
and mountains and stuff. So,
just the
yes.
fact that there are creatures out there, real creatures besides Bigfoot, and there's spiders and there's snakes and there's bugs.
Wait, are you telling them that Bigfoot exists?
I live close to Oklahoma. There's a lot of Bigfoot believers out here, okay? Okay?
I love it. You never know what you're gonna get. I just love this,
You never
Maria.
know. Let me tell you, Bigfoot is real up here in Oklahoma. People are like, he took my dog. And I'm like, I guess Bigfoot likes dogs. So,
Yes,
God.
that's so stay up to date, stay up late if you need to, get up early if you have to, connect with God. That's number two.
Number three, if you're going to go in on any kind of business, just know that it's going to be stressful. It doesn't matter if you are physical training, it doesn't matter if you're doing the forecast on your news weather channel, you are going to be put through stress if you want to be the best. So being the best comes with the stress. So you can't just be like, oh, I want to be mediocre, because then at that point, just go find something else that really passions you. And I'm a firm believer that if you are the best cook, you're going to be the best business owner. Because if you're the best trash picker, you're going to be the best in your leadership position. You cannot be too big for the small things and then expect to be a big thing. Putting your cart, even if you have to go put your cart back at the grocery store, that's going to build character and leadership skills. And that's one thing that you're going to need a lot. So do the small things so you can build that stress. The inconvenience, biting the bullet on the inconvenience.
Mm.
The inconvenience. So it's so inconvenient to go take my trash, my neighbor's trash. Do it. Do it. Trust me, it's going to help you. The other one that I
Mm.
would say that would increase your stress, which is, resiliency for your stress, would be knowing how to take on a lot so you can fulfill a lot. So if you have your child's practice and you have to go to your doctor's appointment and you have to do this, try to stack as many things as you can in your calendar and try to get them all done. Because the minute you do that, you're setting yourself up for, I can handle a lot of stress. I can drive maybe like from this side to that side and be there on time. So being in stress, like constantly, to where a point where you're like, okay, I have a lot of stuff to do. It gives you the mental capacity to say, I just want to focus on this stuff because it's important right now. And it'll save a lot less time for doing dumb stuff like Netflix binging or going out with your friends into the bar, especially if you're young. If you're young and you love girls or you love guys, let me tell you, that is going to set you up for failure. Okay, so fill your calendar with stuff you really got to do and just knock it all out. Bam, bam, bam. You're going to feel so much better because you're going to say, you know what? I can handle a lot of things in my calendar at once and I can fulfill it. And don't just fulfill it with half of your butt, do it with your full butt. Make sure that you put all of it into it and do it with the best intention. You're going to do something, you better do it right. That's the last one. If you're going to do something, you better do it right to the best of your capacity. You better be the best at it. If you're flipping burgers right now, you better be the best flipper burger in the whole town. People better know your name. As soon as you walk into that burger joint, they should know that guy can flip 15 burgers in 15 minutes. I know that's right.
With excellence. I agree a
Excellent.
100%. Because what happens if you don't do it with excellence? What if you half ASS it? What if you half ASS it? What happens?
You just come out sloppy. People know that you work, but you kind of work. You show up to all your appointments, but you're always late. Casually dirty, smelling like pickles. It's all right. So how are you going to be the leader? Like, how are people going to take you serious? Because it all comes from personal image.
So, Maria, there, I'm sure you heard this quote before. How you do one thing is how you do everything. What does that mean? Break that down for the folks.
Well, I tell you from personal experience. Okay, I used to be the one that was kind of do my bed, but not really. I was just kind of like, okay, it looks nice. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna clean my car. Yeah, it kind of looks nice. And so I realized that my whole life just kind of looked nice. And I was like, this is dirty. I don't like this. And so I said, you know what? I am going to make sure that when I do something right, do something, I'm going to do it right and do it all the way. And so that's a rule that has gone all the way to my kids. I tell my kids, if you're going to take out that trash can, you better make sure that not just toss the bag, but put it inside the trash bin, because when you do that, you're going to teach yourself, okay, I'm going to do this right. Because if I do one thing sloppy, I'm going to do everything else sloppy. And also my decision making, the way that I commit to people is going to be sloppy. The way that I interact with people is going to be sloppy. And it reflects inside and outside. And so doing one thing right and doing everything else right, it's about integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing when no one is watching. And when you are in business and no one is watching you, only God, you're going to sit there and say, yes, I could save a couple of dollars by not doing the most integral stuff here, but nobody's going to know. And eventually, the one that does know, which is God, will come right back and say, look, this is just justice. And I've seen it happen to other people.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'm just like, you should have just done the right thing in the beginning, because everything that goes out in the dark comes out in the light every
Yes.
single time. By one way or another, it always comes out to the light. So you cannot cheat yourself, because that's how you get imposter syndrome.
Yeah. 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 Because then what happens if you cheat, if you think you're cheating them because nobody is watching, quote unquote.
You're going to self sabotage it.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was
I've
going.
seen it with my own eyes, and I'm like, don't get me in that mess.
And then once it's done and you look back, I mean, and then come around, do you believe in the law of attraction, right?
Yeah, I do.
So then if you're doing that to someone, other people are going
We'll
to
do
do
it
it
to
to
you.
you.
Yep. And you know what's crazy? Well, what's the worst part of all this?
Yeah.
That once you ruin that reputation because you decided to not be integral or full of integrity, or you want to be an integral person, it's never going away. It will eventually, but people are always going to be like, have to keep my eye on you. Have to be doing one thing and then looking at you and then like just kind of, and it's hard because it's like you lose the trust of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Maria, what is one misconception about stress resilience that people often get wrong?
That it's
But
going to go away by itself, because I don't feel it right now. I'm cool. Right now I'm
I'm
happy.
I'm, I'm
I'm
good.
cool. But when you go to bed, you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And you start panicking because anything can set it off. Let's say you've been putting off, I don't know, something for a long time, and you're like, okay, I'm stressed. But you never deal with that stress, right? You never talk about how it made you feel and why does it stress you. It'll create like a trauma even, because you're so stressed that you don't really release it. So it goes with anger. It's like anger. Like if you never release that anger, it's always gonna be gnawing at you. And one day when someone says the wrong thing, you just flip a switch. And next thing you know, you're upset and you punch the hole through the wall. And it's like, what ticked you off? What didn't you
Yeah.
talk about that you just kept inside your heart for so long that now you're so angry and bitter?
Yeah.
It's not
A
gonna go away.
100%.
Deal with
But
it.
Maria, they are good stress out there, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's
exercise.
good stress. Exercise is a good stress on your body, right? Not overdoing it, but really healthy, productive, nice workout,
Hmm.
right? When your body is getting tense, when you're about to get mad because somebody's saying something or doing something, people say, and in the world of emotional intelligence, the conversation is, if somebody says something that got you mad, it's not their fault. It's you. It's something that's happening in you that raises your blood sugar that caused you to get mad. What do you think about that?
I think there's a perfect word for this. It's PTSD. So it's not about perception. It's all about perception. It's not how I said it. I just said I don't like that dress. It's not something I would wear. You
Yeah,
took it as that's an ugly dress. You just make it look uglier. She doesn't like my body. She doesn't like my face. She doesn't. Maybe she's
I'm
jealous.
going far with it. I'm going.
And I just said that's not something I would wear. I don't like it. Maybe it's the color. My grandma wore a color that dress every Sunday. I didn't like it. That's something like, okay, I don't like that color. Something, and so people take it far fetched because they have an insecurity that they haven't dealt with. Like, what is it? What are you perceiving? Because when I say I don't like that dress, it don't mean I don't like you, but you take it personally. So it's not
Mm.
about how I'm saying, it's about how you're perceiving it. So go deal with whatever you got going on that's gonna like trigger you. Because if that's a trigger, you gotta work on it, right?
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
triggers you, makes you angry when someone says, "Oh, that girl's so pretty," and that's your boyfriend, you're like, "What? You wanna go date her?" Like,
Pump your
dang,
brakes. Pump your brakes.
you're not the prettiest girl out there. So if you're watching this and you're very insecure, I'll tell you there's prettier girls. I worked in a bar, lots of bars, and there's lots of pretty girls, and I had to learn that. Okay, I know what it's like, but I gotta tell you right now that you got something that they don't. Everybody's unique in their own way.
A hundred
Everybody.
percent. A
So
hundred
it's not
percent.
about what they say, it's not about what they do, it's about how I perceive it. So I have to go fix me.
Yes. Maria, I think I'm gonna have you come back sometime before this year ends. Maria, thank you so much. Maria Rodriguez, everyone. Maria is amazing. She has dropped some bombs. I'm gonna have a summary of this conversation. Again, this is live everywhere on all the social media, so you guys can rewatch it if you want. Maria, let folks know how can they connect with you, and anything else that you want to share before we get out of here.
Yes, my handles. The Real Maria
Yes.
Rods. The Real Maria Rods with a Z in the end. You can find me on TikTok. I talk a lot about cleaning and how to scale your cleaning business in Spanish. So if you want to learn some Spanish or you have some Spanish speaking friends that they're starting a cleaning business, send it my way.
It's a great
Um,
time.
Facebook also, I have a Facebook, The Real Maria Rods. So facebook.com/, Real Maria Rods. I share a lot of the journey that's going on behind closed doors of how to scale this business from the ground up. And then you can also find me on Instagram. I don't post much on Instagram. I'm kind of like a MIA.
You can go. You can do so many social media at once. There's only so much.
Yeah, I think Instagram is like my. I used to do a lot of like funny sketches on there, so I might
Yeah.
just go on there and be a clown again.
Maria, once again, thank you for being here. I think we're gonna, yeah, this is the end of the conversation, you guys. Thank you guys for popping in. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Thank you. Like, we're gonna end how we end every single week. That feeling that you get when you're in the right place, doing the right thing. Everybody is right where they're supposed to be. You don't have to worry about anything because everything is right. Tomorrow will come, and tomorrow is going to be and do everything that you want it to be and do. You're floating
Mhm.
in the air like a feather. That feeling, my friends, is called love. So we invite you to go share that with any and everyone that you encountered today. So bye, you guys. Talk to you guys later. Thank you, Maria. Maria, don't we call it. I'm just gonna have you on the back end.
Okay.
So bye, you guys.